Hi everyone, my name is Amina. I am the United Way of Long Island EdCap Program Manager and Counselor. I am here with a little bit of an update on the student loan situation. I'm considering the change in administration, some of the executive orders, and just new things being put in place and things being moved around and things going into action. We're going to talk about the organization a little bit, obviously. I'm going to introduce you guys to United Way of Long Island, and then we're going to go into some important updates that I just discussed with you guys. We're going to discuss 3 strategies to tackle your debt. We're going to go over repayment options, income-driven repayment forgiveness, public service loan forgiveness, guidance for borrowers, the TPD discharge, getting out of default, and a couple of relevant links that you guys can access to inform yourself further, and my information and contact information at the end. I can't English properly today, apparently. All right, so a little bit about Long Island. I apologize if there's noise in the back. The window is open. So a little bit about United Way of Long Island. We are an organization that focuses on 3 building blocks: health, education, and financial stability, to create opportunities for a better life within the Long Island region. We have programs that assist with all 3 of these building blocks, and all of these are available to our Long Island residents. If you have any questions or concerns about this, you will receive contact information at the end of it, end of the slides, to inquire. Okay, so moving on straight into the important updates, some recent developments that have kind of taken over the ed, or just the administration in general, is that the ED has cut its workforce in half and more layoffs are to come. These reductions in management and workforce are going to have a severe impact on loan situation, student loans, financial aid, and just civil rights enforcement. The ombudsman, I can never say that word properly. The ombudsman department has also um, felt the effects of this cut down and has limited options to resolve disputes with the federal student aid. If you are somebody who wants to file a complaint, you can do it with the New York State, with the Department of Financial Services, or you could do it through your elected officials. For guidance on that, you could go to the Student Borrower Protection Center. The transition of student loans portfolio to the SBA is not going to affect student loans and forgiveness and loan details and repayment in general, but it is going to be moved, and it's going to be done through Congress. When it comes to the state litigation, the Eighth Circuit Court has appealed for an extended and its injunction has extended its injunction, which is halting the implementation of SAVE and other relief measures. What this means for the borrowers that are currently enrolled in the SAVE plan are still going to be in a non-interest bearing forbearance, and time spent in this forbearance does not count towards forgiveness. The online and paper applications for the income-driven repayment plans have reopened but are still not being processed. There are to be longer delays expected. We did hear that they might start processing this month later or mid, but we again would say that expect long processes. There is a backlog of about 1 million applications, and I'm not even exaggerating when I say 1 million applications. The IDR forgiveness is on hold. Borrowers who have reached that 20 to 25 years may not have their loan discharged at this time. Online consolidation applications are also open. Services are processing both paper and online consolidation applications, but before you consolidate, I would say please seek advice. You might or may not close a couple of doors if you consolidate incorrectly. So I would say seek help, seek advice. I am the help, I am the advice. PSLF remains in place, so borrowers in a non-safe forbearance. Borrowers in a non-safe IDR plan can continue accumulating credit. So if you're on IBR, ICR, or payee, you're good to go on that front. You are accumulating credits, and I will elaborate on this further in the presentation. So recertification guidance. So FSA provided updated guidance for IDR recertification on March 26th. So for recertifications that were due on or before February 20th, If you submitted and processed before Feb 20th, there's no impact. If you submitted by Feb 20th and has not been processed yet, recertifications were extended by 1 year. So again, there is no action needed. If you have not submitted by February 20th, payments temporarily probably recalculated without income and family size. So you should submit a new IDR recertification application to adjust your payment. For recertifications that are due on or after February 21st, 2025, the recertifications again were extended by a year, so you have no action required. Some borrowers may see incorrect payment amounts, and servicers are actively working to correct that. You need to monitor your accounts and make sure that your loan status is correct and the payment plan and payment has been applied. So just make sure, keep an eye out for that. Pay attention to that. That's important. Some potential changes that are going to ensue. When it comes to legal challenges, the court ruling will probably eliminate the SAFE plan and possibly the regulations that affect other IDR applications, such as the automatic IDR recertification and the weighted average retroactive credit towards IDRF when you consolidate. The courts also will make a determination on whether IDRF can be offered through plans like PayE or ICR. And the IBR plan is in the statute, so it won't be affected by the court rulings. In addition, payments in any IDR plan will count towards PSLF. So whether PayE or ICR may or may not have impending due when it comes to IDRF, your PSLF will be safe on all three fronts when it comes to ICR, PayE, and IBR. Beyond the legal challenges, the budget reconciliation and negotiated rulemaking may result in significant changes to the student loan system. Some of the proposals that have been put forward include replacing current payment plans for future borrowers with two plans. So it's either going to be the standard repayment plan, which is a 10-year fixed standard repayment plan, and the other is an IDR plan that would not allow forgiveness, which would result in a lot of the low income borrowers being trapped in debt for life, unfortunately. They're also making changes to existing IDR plans such as PayE and ICR. Again, these are just proposals, but I do want to inform the public to let them know what is going on, obviously. The sunsetting of PLUS loan programs for parents and graduates, which honestly might not be the worst thing. Changing PSLF eligibility per the president's executive order. Again, these are just proposals. Nothing has been put into play as of yet, but this is just information that we have received. What you should do as a borrower, make sure that you are record keeping. Make sure that you have all of the information about your loan details, payment history, information from your PSLF or IDRF trackers from FSA, and important notifications from your servicer inbox. So make sure you have access and are keeping record of all of your information, specifically these four components. Repeat this process monthly. Make sure that your records are up to date. And if you are notified that your loans will be transferred, make sure that you are keeping up with that and record keeping for that as well. Now that we're done with our updates, let's move on to tackling student debt. So some of the strategies that we use to tackle student debt are all three. There is pay your debt as quickly as possible, which would require borrowers with low balances relative to their high income or high income relative to their balance to make lump sum payments or pay more than required than your payment plan. That would allow you to make payments quickly and pay off your loan quicker. The second possibility is pay minimum required and pursue forgiveness if you are eligible. So if you're somebody who's pursuing PSLF, TSLF, or IDRF, you would be the one pursuing this option. So this is with borrowers with high balances or low to moderate income compared to their debt. They make minimum required payments until they're eligible for forgiveness, and we would not obviously advise making extra payments under this plan because your entire goal in this strategy is not to see your loan balance go down, but it is to see the end goal, which is earning forgiveness for the remaining balance. And then the most morbid option of them all is pay minimum required until death do you part. This is pretty much if you're paying off your debt or pursuing, if paying off your debt or pursuing forgiveness is not an option for you. So this would be a consideration where you pay minimum until you die. Um, to put it insensitively, I guess. Um, the strategy is often used by older borrowers who cannot realistically pay their loans or achieve forgiveness because federal loans are dischargeable upon death. Okay, let's move on. That's very morbid. Not that student loans aren't any less morbid, but anyways. So some of the repayment options. There's two categories to this specifically. There's traditional repayment plans and there is the income-driven repayment plans. To go over traditional repayment plans, some of the pros of traditional repayment plans is that they're more predictable payments. They're shorter repayment periods in some cases, potentially paying off your loan faster. You don't need any recertifications or income requirements or verifications for this, and this is best suited for people who have high income relative to their loan balance. So if you're making $100,000 but you have a loan balance of $16,000, a traditional plan may be more your forte compared to an income-driven repayment plan, obviously depending on the situation. Some of the cons for this specific for this specific category of repayment plans is that they're higher monthly payments, potentially challenging for those with limited income, and there's limited flexibility in adjusting the payments, and you can't be offered forgiveness through traditional plans. Some of the traditional plans that are under this fall under this umbrella are extended, graduated, and standard. Then we have income-driven repayment plans, whose pros do outweigh their cons, but let's go over those. They're affordable payments based on the income. They offer loan forgiveness after 20 to 25 years of payment, which is IDRF. You are required sorry, you're required to pay under one of the income-driven repayment plans for forgiveness. You can adjust your payments when your income changes, and it's best suited for people with high debt balances and low to moderate income, or for people who are pursuing forgiveness plans like TSLF or PSLF. Some of the cons of this specific program slash umbrella of repayment plans is annual renewal and income verification needs to go through annually every year. Obviously, that's what annually means. There is a potential interest accumulation over extended repayment period, which and longer repayment periods extending time to become debt free. So when it comes to you pursuing specifically forgiveness under these plans, the cons aren't really cons because your entire goal is to kind of have the entire balance at the end of it forgiven. So the interest accumulation would not per se have a impact, but interest does accumulate if you're not pursuing forgiveness, which would be a con. Some of the plans that fall under the umbrella of the income-driven repayment plans are IBR, which is in the statute, and then there's PAYE, which is pay as you earn, and then there's the income contingent repayment, and then there is the SAVE, which is on hold right now. So nobody is eligible slash allowed to apply to it at the moment. So now we are continuing on to income-driven repayment forgiveness, which I will speak about a little now. So income-driven repayment forgiveness can offer up to 20 to 25 years with qualifying payments and no employment requirement. The reason no employment requirement for this is emphasized is because PSLF does require an employment requirement. The Biden administration gave credit towards IDRF via the IDR account adjustment that was implemented during COVID. Most borrowers can see and track their IDR progress on studentaid.gov. Not your servicer website, it's on studentaid.gov, so you can access your trackers on studentaid.gov. Some current challenges that kind of have an impact on the IDRF is the state of litigation is questioning whether borrowers can receive IDRF under SAVE, PAYE, and ICR plans. Pretty much means that IBR is the only explicitly plan granting forgiveness under, and until recently, forgiveness was being granted under IVR as well. The status of this is the IDRF at the moment appears to be paused across all IDR plans, whether you're on IVR, PAYE, ICR, or SAFE. So we would suggest keeping an eye out, just, make sure that you are up to date with everything that is going on, which is what I'm doing right now. Um, Now, moving on to public service loan forgiveness, some of the rules for public service loan forgiveness and eligibility criteria you need to meet is you need to make 120 qualifying monthly payments, which is 10 years, after which the remaining loan balance will get forgiven. A qualifying payment is, by definition, a one-time payment made in full or after October 1st, 2007. It has to be on a direct loan. It has to be under an income-driven repayment plan or a standard 10-year fixed repayment plan, which comes with its own set of criteria. You also have to be working an average of at least 30 hours a week, and you have to be working for a qualifying employer, which means a nonprofit or a government agency concurrently. Your payments don't have to be consecutive, which is a great one. And you must meet the employment requirements that I just stated. And when your forgiven balance has accumulated and is about to be forgiven, it's not taxable on a federal or state basis. So good for you. The IDR account adjustment and PSLF. So I keep saying income. The IDR account adjustment was a one-time account revision that allowed borrowers during COVID to accumulate retroactive credit for their IDRF based on a set of rules that they had implemented at that time. IDRF's credit on direct loans can be converted into PSLF credit when you verify your employment under the PSLF certification form. I think one of the important things for this is specifically that all FFEL loans had to be consolidated by June 30th, 2024, to make sure that you could get credit towards PSLF. If you are somebody who holds FFEL loans and consolidated after, you are eligible for PSLF, but the qualifying payment count will reset. So if you had consolidated before June 30th, and at that point you had 16, for the, like, just as an example, 16 qualifying payments, but you ended up consolidating after June 30th, then you would start at the zero counter. Those 16 would not count towards PSLF. So consolidation rules. PSLF borrowers can consolidate their loans and get that extra retroactive credit on a weighted average. So let's just say, as an example, a borrower has two direct unsubsidized loans of 50,000 each. One loan has a 40-month of qualifying payment count towards PSLF, and the other has 60 qualifying payment counts towards PSLF. After consolidation, the borrower will have one direct unsubsidized consolidation loan of $100,000 with 50 payments qualifying towards PSLF. So for you to see how many qualifying payments you have to submit the PSLF certification form to update your count on all loans before you consolidate. Excuse me. We don't recommend consolidating because at the moment, because the IDR applications aren't processing, but when they resume and you need to consolidate, I am here. The help is here. Another thing to discuss is the PSLF buyback. This specific program has not been put into complete action, as in we have very little kind of like background on it, but the PSLF buyback allows you to purchase your PSLF credit for the months you spent in a disqualifying status under the following circumstances. So you have to have 120 qualifying months of employment on record. So you have to have about 10 years of employment on record that meets the PSLF standards. So you have to be working for a government or nonprofit agency for those 120 months to qualify. The months you buy back should bring your count up to 120 qualifying payments for you to be able to use the PSLF buyback option. So if you have 120 qualifying months of employment on record, but you only have 110 qualifying payment count, your buyback should bring that 110 to 120 payments to make sure that you can use this option. You cannot purchase months prior to the consolidation or months that were spent in school deferment, grace period, or default. Payments are going to be based on the payments you were making in an IDR plan prior to entering the disqualifying status and immediately after exiting the status if it is applicable. To submit a PSLF certification reconsideration, you have to select the PSLF buyback option. Again, a lot of these links will be within the as a Gen Z, I should know the terminology of what I'm trying to say, but I obviously don't. So the links will be somewhere down there in the comment section, bio, whatever it is that people use these days. But since the applications aren't being processed, we don't know whether the time spent in the safe forbearance is eligible, but there's no downside to requesting and seeing where it goes. Okay. The executive orders on PSLF. So President Trump has issued an EO, which is an executive order, directing the Secretary of Education to redefine what public service agencies qualify for PSLF. So let's see the criteria that it needs to meet. It seeks to target organizations that violate federal immigration laws, support terrorism, or engage in violent acts against the U.S. government, engage in child abuse or related activities, aid illegal discrimination, and violate state tort laws like trespassing or vandalism. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. The executive order does not eliminate the program or immediately change the program requirements. So we are good on that front. But stay tuned for updates because you never know what's going to happen. But there's no changes implemented at the moment, which is a good thing. Some of the guidance for borrowers going forward, since these are uncertain times, if you are on the safe forbearance, you don't really need to do anything right now unless you're pursuing PSLF and you want to start accumulating qualifying payment credit. Then we would suggest changing out to another IDR plan so you can continue pursuing PSLF. Your payments are paused. There's no interest accruing on your account. Online IDR applications are open, but they're not being processed. So if you are somebody who wants to start accumulating credit on PSLF, you could submit an application. Just be aware that there are going to be very long processing delays. You can get help and explore your IDR plan options before switching. The said help is me. If you are on a standard repayment plan and trying to enroll in an IDR plan, you can request a forbearance if you can't afford the repayment plan under standard repayment plan. This may need to be renewed frequently, so contact your servicer. If you already haven't done so, you can submit an IDR application for any other plan other than SAVE. If you need to recertify your IDR application, double check with your servicer whether you actually need to recertify. I wouldn't recertify if you don't need to recertify. So check the recertification guidelines and just call your servicer and ask them whether you need to renew anytime soon. Literally just be very loosely ask, hi, do I need to recertify my IDR plan anytime soon? And they're gonna either give you a yes or no answer, but just make sure you check the previous recertification guidance just in general. If you want to switch between a non-save IDR plan, hold off on it for now. Don't try to switch until IDR applications are being processed. I would again suggest that you can put in an application. They're just not being processed right now, so just expect delays. You can continue making plans in your current IDR if you are pursuing PSLF, so you can keep accumulating credit. For borrowers who are in PAYE, IBR, or ICR, you can continue making payments so you can accumulate credit. For borrowers in the safe forbearance specifically, can submit an IDR application online or paper application. IBR is the current recommended plan because we're not sure what's going on with others. But if PAYE or ICR are cheaper and you're eligible, that qualifies as well. You can submit a PSLF buyback request if you meet the requirements for it. There's a lot of individuals who are within the safe forbearance but are coming up to their or have come up to their 120 qualifying employment months, but have not been able to get their PSL forgiveness because of the safer bears. Excuse me. If you're eligible and can afford payments, you can earn credit towards PSLF in a standard 10-year fixed repayment plan. Again, this is also a varying option because it depends on your specific situation. Direct consolidation loans are generally not eligible for this plan because it depends on the amount and depends on the type of loans. But standard plans with payback periods longer than 10 years do not qualify. For PSLF, for your PSLF certification, you have to verify your employment. What do you mean by verify employment, you might ask? You need to be able to go online and submit a PSLF certification form that is going to be sent out to your previous or current employer to get signed so they can verify your employment. You should submit one form for each qualifying employer you've had since October 1st, 2007. Anybody before 2007 does not qualify. And you can submit these forms annually whenever you change jobs or just to keep up with your PSLF payment count. We do recommend that you use the PSLF help tool online, which is accessible on studentaid.gov. And you can do that by requesting an electronic signature from your employer, which pretty much means that when you add their email, they get a request sent to their email requesting they sign and verify your employment history with that specific employer. This is what it looks like when you go onto the PSLF certification. When you go on Student Aid Gov website, there's a drop-down menu where you can click loan forgiveness, and there is a PSLF certification toggle that you can click on, which will take you to this page. Okay, you should monitor your progress towards PSLF. PSLF has a tracker on the dashboard of your federal student aid gov account, which we highly, highly, highly suggest that you keep track of regularly, especially after you submit a PSLF certification form, just to make sure you're up to date. Don't rely on FSA to make sure they're keeping accurate record. As you can already see, the government is not always fully functional. So just make sure that you are keeping up to date with your PSLF tracker. Now talking about total and permanent disability discharge, this is specifically for individuals who have a mental or physical disability that prevents them from working full time. They're applicable for a loan. They're applicable for a loan discharge. The management of this program has been transitioned to the Department of Ed, which means that you can visit the TPD application page on studentaid.gov. So now there's officially three ways of submitting these forms. So you can use the online application, which I would request or which I would recommend highly. And you can request electronic signatures, including for your medical certifications. You could use the online application. Excuse me. Sorry. You can use the online application and request manual signatures. I honestly would not recommend that, only because that would take forever and ever. And there is the PDF version that you can complete. What I usually do with my clients is I submit a online application and then I have them fill out a PDF version of it and mail it out just in case. You can never, better safe than sorry. Just to make sure that we are submitting it and they are receiving the application just in case. All right. Okay, this is very relevant, obviously, to the current situation. We were just informed that on May 5th, loans will be going into collections. So this is very timely, I guess. So there's two ways to cure default. Since the Fresh Start initiative is over, there are two ways you can get out of default. One is rehabilitation. Rehabilitation pretty much means that you take 9 months and pay on time and fully over a period of 10 months. It removes the default notion from your credit report, unfortunately, but it does not remove delinquencies. It can take up to a year to complete and may be expensive considering. And you can only successfully rehabilitate one loan, one time per loan, one loan per time. You get what I mean. You get what I mean? Or you can consolidate your loans, so you can replace your old defaulted loans with new loans that are in good standing. It does not, however, repair credit. It takes 2 to 3 months to process and can be done at no cost if filed online. And generally, it's easier to complete than a rehabilitation if the borrower is eligible. If you are somebody who is in default or going into default, I highly, highly, highly advise that you seek advice. Yes, I am the person, by the way, just making sure. Um, that is it for today, pretty much. If you have any questions or concerns, you can literally drop them down and I will answer those for you. There are some relevant links that we can establish here. That you can also find them in a PDF that might be linked below. You'll see it below. You'll see it below. But, or if you specifically want to get in contact with me for some specific information, you can do that at my phone number. You can text or call me, or you can email me. I am available through all three platforms. If you have any general inquiries about specific programs that United Way of Long Island has to offer, you could visit the 211 or you could call 211 and see what you're specifically looking for. If not, you can call us directly and inquire about our services. That's it for today. If you have any questions or concerns regarding your student loans or you need any sort of help consolidating, getting out of default, anything of the sort, please do not hesitate to contact me. My phone number and email are on the screen. And I look forward to hearing from you because I'm here to help. All right. Have a good one, and I will see you around.